Welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Brundi, we have been waiting to see if any big trades are going to happen, and it kind of seems like we're getting something similar to what we got last year, right before the Four Nations. We got almost like a miniature trade deadline of a bunch of deals happening early before the break. Now, before the Olympics, we're getting a couple of deals. We're getting some of the bigger names for the trade deadline already off the board. Obviously, those two being Rasmus Andersson and Kiefer Sherwood. I'll throw it to you
Back-to-back
right off the
days,
top.
too.
In back-to-back days, no less. Which one do you want to talk about first?
I think we start with the bigger one, and that is the Rasmus Andersson deal. The one
Right.
we were kind of waiting for the longest time for when it was going to happen. You know, we knew it was going to happen. Pretty much, it was just kind of when and where, and does it come with an extension? You know, all these things surrounding it that kind of all needed to fall into place for it to happen. Most of it did, and you know, we finally do have a deal, and that is that. Who's surprised here? Not you, not me, no one. The Vegas Golden Knights acquire Rasmus Andersson from the Calgary Flames in exchange for a first-round pick, 2027, conditional second-round pick in 2028 that upgrades to a first if Vegas wins the Cup this year. So, in my opinion, you got a first and a second, along with defenseman Zach Whitecloud and defenseman prospect Abram Weeb.
I think that's how you say it.
I think so. That's why I'm going to go with it. I actually do think it's a good return for Calgary.
But I'd just like to make it a little extra clear. What did you mean when you said basically two? Do you say 2 firsts or 2 seconds?
A first and a second. Because again, I'm kind of believing that Vegas isn't winning the Cup this year. So that second will stay a second. It's not going to upgrade.
And one other thing I will throw out there is Calgary, from the Hanifin deal, already has the first round pick from Vegas this year. So if they win the Cup, yay! That second in 3 years is upgraded, but that means you're picking dead last in the first round this year. So it's not a huge upgrade. You'd think it's 31st, I guess, because Ottawa's pick's probably going away, but.
No, yeah. It's the same thing as I can't remember the exact way the deal worked out, the Chris Tanev to Dallas one, but the Flames put themselves in a similar spot where you were having to cheer for Dallas to hurt one of the picks, but then it made one of the other picks better. And so they kind of got themselves in that spot again where, you know, and it's a tough one, right? Because you look at it, you're like, you could have Vegas's first round pick for 3 years in a row. You just have to sacrifice this first one and, you know, have it be at the very end of the first round. And I think if you're a Flames fan, I think that's probably kind of still what you would want, I think, overall, to end up having 3 first round picks. But again, you know, do you really want to cheer for Vegas? Maybe some do. Maybe you want to cheer for Noah Hanifin or Rasmus Andersson to go on a run there, and if you don't and you want Vegas to lose, I think that's totally fine. I think you're able to take it however way you want, because it's kind of annoying to see all your players want to go to a team that's kind of become a little bit of a rival for you in recent years. So
originally I thought this wasn't a ton, and then the trade grew on me a bit. And I've almost come back around to not liking it as much. I don't think it's a horrendous return. It's Vegas. He said we heard rumblings in the offseason that Vegas was the main place he wanted to go. It's also Vegas. Everyone wants to go there. I don't think him not having an extension at the time of the trade should really affect it hardly at all, because we all know they're going to get it done. I believe they did the same thing with Hanifin. I don't think Hanifin had an extension when he got moved there either. I don't think his was signed a trade.
His didn't come with an extension, but pretty quickly he did extend, and we all kind of knew that he would, because he really wanted to go to Vegas more than anything, because his best friend Jack Eichel was there. He wanted to be with him, and so that made sense. But extension on this one though right away.
Just all all the other rumored returns for Rasmus Andersson, I think I like this what actually happened the least out of everyone that I heard rumored.
Hmm.
Um, there wasn't a ton out there. There was the Boston one where they'd get a first, Matthew Poitras and
Mason Lohrei.
Mason Lohrei. Like I would have liked
Hmm.
that as a better return. Um,
I,
Another
I don't.
interesting one people were bringing
Maybe.
up was last off season. It was rumored that they were seeing if they could get a deal done with the not with the Maple Leafs, and it was either
And even the LA Kings.
it was supposed to be a
Connected.
first from the Leafs and then one of Easton Cowan or Fraser Minton because it's back before they traded Minton. And
Mm,
man, if they could have got Cowan and a first from the Leafs, that might have been pretty nice as well. Um,
yeah.
it definitely depends what they do with some of this stuff because it kind of sounds like they want to keep White Cloud, but I don't really know why. Like he just seems like a great trade candidate for playoff teams, and he's not going to be a part of your future. Like he's a good player, but
Yeah.
he's not going to be a part of your future. He's just going to be playing games for you right now and being good in them, I guess. But it
Hmm.
that needs to be guys
Yeah.
building up the younger talent. So it's
Yeah. So I totally get what you're saying. I actually don't mind this return because I do like the route that Calgary is going of they want to draft their own players. They want to
right.
develop their own players. And I think that's a good way of doing it for them in where they're at right now. So I actually don't mind. Like maybe I'm just not as high on Matthew Poitras, or how do you pronounce the last name?
I think
That's the
it's
last name I
Poitras.
can never get. I don't think I can get it ever. Um, Maybe I'm just not as high on him. I'm pretty high on Mason Lohrei, and I thought he would have been a great fit for Calgary. Um, but the thing was is Anderson at the end of the day wasn't going to sign an extension,
That's the
and
thing. They'd have to
once
do the best
that
what they
couldn't.
could with being handcuffed.
Yeah, and that's what makes it tough for them. And again, I think the return they got is great given that he wasn't signing an extension. Apparently, Boston offered him 9 million per year for 8 years, and so that really just kind of shows that he isn't ready to commit anywhere and sign an extension if he's not willing to take the bag like that. And think
Well,
that's
that's
maybe a bit of an
was that
overpay,
around
but
what is that around what Calgary offered him too?
I'm not sure. I never heard of anything with extension talks with Calgary at all. I never heard any rumors, so I can't.
They were last year, but it was early last year. I don't remember. I don't remember what it was. Um, but yeah, I mean they were pretty handcuffed. I would not be shocked at all if Rasmus Andersson signs that exact deal in Vegas and takes it.
Hmm.
Um, you know, the place he
It
wanted to
wouldn't
go
shock me.
more competitive, less state tax.
He gets
I
to play
wouldn't
with
even,
Hanifin again.
yeah, I wouldn't even be surprised if he signs for 8.5 there.
Takes a little bit of
So
a discount. Yeah, so I don't I like this deal for Calgary. Again, what do they do with Zach Whitecloud? Is he flipped by the deadline? He is under team control, and I think he is a great player. A lot of people act like he was a throw in to make the contracts work. And it's like no, Zach Whitecloud actually is a pretty good stay at home defenseman. He's
yeah,
not going to light it up for a bunch of points and run the power play like Rasmus Anderson did, but he can be a very effective defensive defenseman, especially on the penalty kill. Um, Eating up some minutes. He did a lot of that for Vegas this year because his role got elevated with Pietrangelo gone. Here's the thing I dislike the most for Calgary.
okay.
I actually hate it for Calgary. And we didn't mention this yet, actually, when talking about the deal. They retained 50% of Rasmus Andersson's contract for the remainder
Right.
of this season. And what's the thing we've been talking about all season with the Calgary Flames? When's the Andersson trade going to happen? What's that going to be like? Are you going to move Nazem Kadri, who's got 2 years on his deal after this year, I believe, and Blake Coleman, who's
I
got
think
the rest
Kadri
of
might
this
have a bit more.
season and next season? And You retain 50% on those, you increase the value, and you get a absolute haul back because we're seeing that, if you retain, you you get
Cap space is
way more
huge.
back.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And now you've got Rasmus Andersson retained for the remainder of this season, and you still have Jacob Markstrom on his deal when he traded in New Jersey retained, and that goes until the end of this season. So now, if you do decide you want to move on from Kadri and Coleman before the deadline, you can only retain on one of them. And I think you get more value for those guys retained compared to what you got for Andersson here retaining on him. That's the part I don't like for Calgary. But again, Calgary was kind of put in a tough spot because we know what Boston was willing to pay Andersson. We know what they're willing to give to Calgary. But if Andersson wasn't willing to commit to an extension right there when a deal's being made, it makes no sense for Boston to make that move, and that scared them off. I imagine that scared Detroit off. I think it scared everybody off until Vegas was the only team left because they know they're going to get an extension done.
They are one of the teams that they can just be blindly confident that any player would resign with them, but especially when this guy for the last 8 months has been saying that is the place I want to go. Of course he's going to extend if he's been advocating to go there. He's not advocating to go there as a rental.
Exactly.
So
that's the part I don't like for Calgary is retaining on Andersson. I really don't like that. But again, they kind of had no option at the end of the day.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure they've said fairly openly, I'm not sure if this is 100% accurate, but I think they've said that they don't want to retain on Kadri. I think they've said that because he has 4 years left, so 3 after this year.
Oh, so 3 after this year. Okay, so and that's fair. Me personally, I still would because
it's only
not like Calgary's. Yeah, and it's not like Calgary's going for the cup in the next 3 years, and the cap space is going up. And I feel like, if it's, we could trade Kadri and get a first, or we could retain 50% on Kadri and get a first, a second, and a decent prospect. You retain then. You maximize the value of players you're moving out. It's, but again, if they don't want to, that's fine. Sure.
Yeah.
And I do think
they will be getting
those
2 retention slots back at the end of this at July 1st because that's when the Markstrom and obviously this Andersson one will both come expire.
Yeah. And I do believe you get more value for Coleman retained than Kadri. I firmly believe.
4.9 for 2 years for Coleman. Cut that in half. That's what?
Basically 2.4, 2.45.
Like that's real nice for a guy like him. And with the 2-year term, like that's be a fantastic trade piece. So it would be a huge blunder if they don't at least move Coleman. They seem really reluctant to move Kadri for some reason, but Coleman especially should. He's 34. It's such
his
a
value is never going to be higher. And I get it because Coleman. A lot of people have said this, and I'm starting to come around on it more. Backlund wears the C, but Coleman is kind of the heart and soul of that Flames team. I think it's very apparent both on the ice and off the ice. He's kind of the foundation of the Flames. And so I do get that kind of really hurts when you are going to move a guy like that. But again, like you said, he is 34. He's going to be 35 next season. His value is never going to be higher than it is right now.
Yeah.
And, he is still injured and coming off an injury, and thankfully it wasn't anything long-term that made it so you can't move him. And it's going to suck to move him for the Flames and for the fans, for the locker room, everything involved there. But you do got to maximize the value of him now. It does you no good to trade him next year when the value is not going to be as high there.
Yeah, so. Even if he's good for the locker room, he's not going to be good for the locker room when he's retired, which is likely what he'll be by the time this team is competitive. Like, not just in the playoffs, but a playoff threat.
Yeah.
So, you gotta move the guy, and you mentioning him as a leader is interesting because I'm just thinking about it because a lot of teams have guys with a Stanley Cup, even if they're not a team with a cup. A lot of them have these different guys. Teams love overpaying a lot of the time for those guys on expiring deals after they win a cup, right? Yeah. Is he one of the only guys on this team who's got one? because they've also got
Him, Lomberg.
Lomberg. I think it's just him and Lomberg.
Well, and I guess White Cloud now.
Oh, yeah.
Because with White Cloud, he's coming with a cup. Kadri's got one.
Oh yeah, I
Kadri
guess
did get one.
Kadri and Coleman they both brought in free agency after they won cups.
So they've got a couple guys.
I do hope that they turn around, especially because of that log jam that they have on the right side. I really hope they do move White Cloud sooner than later. Honestly, at this deadline would be better than even in free agency.
And that's my thing is, you were moving out Andersson to open up room on that right side for guys like Brustevich and Prek, and then you bring a right-hand defenseman in. And so it's like you didn't really open up a spot for those guys. So it does kind of lead me to think that there's going to be another defenseman trade happening, whether it is White Cloud that gets moved out, whether it's you pick one of the other guys. I think there is going to be a move made at some point here, moving out one of the defensemen. I think basically everybody is on the table except for Uyghur and Ball in terms of guys that are kind of already established NHLers.
Ball is 25, so I get it. And I love Mackenzie Weegar as a player. He does everything asked of him. Is there a reason that his name just seems to never come up in trade talks at all? Like, people are higher on trading Coleman than Kadri a bit. There's kind of stuff, but someone could trade for Uyghur for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more years at least. I think it goes off the page. I don't think there's more years, but yeah, UFA at the end. So 6 more years at 6.25. A contender should be licking their chops if he's available.
I think it's one of those things where the Flames aren't actively putting his name out there and saying he's available. But if a team comes to them and offers them a deal they can't refuse, I think the Flames would do it. I think it's one of those things of we're not actively going to shop him because he's a great player for us, a leader. He's under contract for a long time. We've got control of him. But
he does have a no
trade. If someone shows up and offers us a boatload, I think they'll definitely consider it. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where I don't always know where the hypothetical landing point would be. But obviously, since I am a Lightning fan, I think of it in terms of my bubble. And if I would be happy with it, then surely an Avs fan would be able to come up with a trade that would work for their team. A Panthers fan, a Dallas fan, they'd be able to figure it out. And
absolutely.
Uyghur makes your blue line a lot better. He could play on either side, which is super rare as well. I would be so fine with the Lightning giving up, a first, Connor Geeky, and a B-level prospect. If that's something where that's at least in the ballpark, that's not bad.
Gets talks going, absolutely. For Vegas, love this deal. You don't need the draft picks. You're in win now mode. Vegas. You're adding a legit top 4 defenseman that you've been missing on that right side with Pietrangelo now gone. And again, the draft picks don't matter. You should be just continuing to sell them off year after year and going all in. So love it for Vegas. And for Calgary, I still do. I like it a lot for them because you're getting draft picks back, whether you're using them or you're using them to move up or whatever. I think it's fine. And then, it just ends up being, what do you do with White Cloud? Do you hold on to him, which I'm fine if they do and they move someone else? Do you move White Cloud? And then is it now you're looking at, the Flames got a first, a second, 2 prospects, and maybe another second or something like that.
Vancouver did with Vancouver did with the JT Miller trade. We didn't love the trade, but it got a little bit better once they moved the first rounder for Marcus Pettersson.
Although now it looks really bad for them. Well, at the time,
I mean, what doesn't in a Canucks jersey right now, unfortunately. Speaking of I'd say about a B, probably close to a B- for Calgary, but A+ for Vegas.
I think it's A+ for Vegas. I got a B+ for Calgary just because
I just lowered it a little bit just because giving up the best player in the trade. But
I'm actually
it has potential to get better if they do right with the assets.
I'm actually an A- for Calgary. Just because again, it gets Calgary closer to the bottom. which
And you know what?
helps.
That is important. You know what?
So that's kind of why I
Trading
did
him
bump it up,
now
because
versus at the trade deadline, it's going to help
exactly,
him lose some games.
exactly.
Like
That's
the
exactly it.
Rangers are already selling. Like the Canucks, we'll get to in a second, already selling. The race to the bottom is it's already started. So
Yeah,
Vancouver's
and
on like an 11-game losing streak.
yeah, but I guess we can dive right into
Um,
Vancouver. Speaking of the
just
Vancouver
one
Canucks.
other thing with Vegas
Oh yeah.
is this deal actually freed up a little bit of cap space. Not only did they not lose cap space, bring in a guy like Anderson, you know, extension withstanding. I'm sure next year will be a thing they can figure out. But right now, they've
Mhm.
actually saved enough that they can bring I believe it's Braden McNabb off of LTIR now. Because before
Oh yeah.
they had a little bit too much money on the books, they couldn't bring him off LTIR. Now they can. I don't know
Now
if
they
he's
can,
ready yet, but they actually got like better in their cap situation for this season. So yeah,
which
it's
is
a home run
huge.
for Vegas. I think Vegas is gonna get shockingly better from this trade. I think people aren't ready for how good Anderson's gonna be there, and just all that depth. You know, all those other guys getting moved down the lineup. They
Mhm.
have less responsibility. Like losing Alex Petrangelo is a lot. I heard a lot of
Yeah.
people talk about it as if they had their a third best defenseman go down. Like it's a top four guy, and it's gonna hurt them a bit, but it'll be fine. That was their best defenseman. That's a big blow.
Yeah, it's yeah. I got to agree with you that that was a big hole that they had that they needed to fill, and they obviously now do that. And I don't think they're necessarily done. I think there might be another move potentially coming. I don't know how, but they always find a way because they really have like no prospects anymore.
Yeah,
No firsts. They've kind of spent it all, but again, they always find a way to get it done. And last couple years have been a little difficult for them after winning a cup. Their biggest thing is whether it's probably not the first round, but maybe first round or round two is going to be getting by Edmonton, and then if they manage to do that this go round, which isn't easy because Edmonton went to the Cup Finals back-to-back years, you're going to be going up against whatever juggernaut comes out of the Central, whether that's Colorado,
yeah,
Minnesota, Dallas. Um, so I do like it for Vegas that they're still in the all-in mentality, and they know they've got a window. It's not a super big window, um, but it's still open for them, and yeah, continue to just go all in year after year after
yeah.
year, and
They've only
until
got one first rounder of theirs since they've become a team. Like
yeah,
I think it was their 2023 one. They
Trevor
drafted a
Connolly
guy, Trevor Connolly, and
is only one.
he's
Yeah,
the only one. Every other guy has either been drafted and immediately traded, or they just trade the pick. And
he's managed to stay
it's
there for
working
a while.
for
So
him.
I'm curious. Yeah, is he gonna by the deadline, is he still gonna be a part of the organization and potentially coming in the lineup next year, or do they move him? It's gonna be.
Does he have a ton of trade value? Has he looked since his draft?
I think so. I think if there's a player
It's at least recent
Vegas
enough.
wanted,
He's got pedigree.
yeah, yeah, I think he's got some pretty good value though for him. So
We'll see.
keep an eye on that and see what they do. Absolutely.
But yes, we'll move on to the other big trade that we have to talk about here, and that is the Vancouver Canucks moving out Kiefer Sherwood to your San Jose Sharks. Sherwood going to the Sharks, and going back to Vancouver is a 2026 second rounder, 2027 second rounder, and defenseman Cole Clayton. Brundy, I mean, you're the Sharks fan. I'll let you react to this first. What do you think?
It is worth noting that both second round picks are San Jose zone. Second round picks, there's no conditions. It's just San Jose second this season and next season is
Yeah,
those are the picks. Um, I think this is a good deal for both sides. I think Vancouver finally came around and realized that you weren't getting a first and a good prospect. No one was going to pay that.
right.
And then it sounds like the best offer they received was a second round pick and a third round pick. And that wasn't enough for them. So then it was basically whatever team is the first to offer up 2 second round picks will probably get the deal done. And that's obviously where we ended up getting. So Yeah, for San Jose, I think it's. I mean, Kiefer Sherwood led the league in hits last year, um, by quite a bit. Second in the league in hits this season, despite being missing the last little bit with an injury. Is a player that the Sharks were kind of missing a more energy guy in that top nine, especially on the forecheck, on the penalty kill, maybe on the power play. Sherwood's got a pretty good shot, and his shooting percentage has been pretty nuts.
You know what
So
Sharks player he kind of reminds me of? And he's not on the same elite level as this guy, but he kind of feels like a light version of Timo Meyer. He's got a nice shot. He hits a lot. He's good, hard on the forecheck. Like, obviously, he's
yeah,
not quite the same player, but in a reduced role, he brings a lot of the same things. And yeah,
absolutely. Even a guy they got in the Timo Meyer trade, who they traded last year, Fabian Zetterlund. I think Sherwood's
yeah,
a very comparable player in that sense. I do like it for both sides. My biggest thing is, what is an extension going to look like?
surely this
Um,
is an extend of a player they want to
yeah,
extend, right?
yeah.
There's no way this is
I
just a rental.
if it was to a bunch of other teams, I could see it being a rental. Not for the Sharks, though. They're not in a
Right.
position where it's we're going all in for the cup this year. We're getting rentals. It's like you might make the playoffs. I'm fully on the belief that I think the Sharks will actually make the playoffs. Um, but it's not to the point where you're trading away stuff for rentals, right? Like that's just
Yeah.
not where this team is at. Um, so I'm curious to see how an extension is going to look. I would like them, the rumor is like a 5x5 or 5x5.5.
Right.
I think the Sharks are going to avoid that because Kiefer Sherwood is going to be turning 31, and the way he plays, it's tough because people say the way he plays the game, it's not going to translate well for him later on in his career, right? With
Right.
all the physicality and whatnot. But then you also think he was kind of a late bloomer too. Like Kiefer Sherwood even said so himself. So it's not like he's been doing this for 10 years in the league already. Like this is over the last, 3 or 4 years in the NHL at the highest level.
Yeah.
So maybe he can, but I expect San Jose will go the route of, hey, we'll give you 6 million per year or 6.5 or something, which might be a bit of overpay, but only for 3 years. And again, San Jose is not worried about the money right now. They've got 70 million in cap space or something come the offseason. Like they need to get to the cap floor, and I think they're even going to be struggling to get to the cap floor next season. So
Yeah.
whatever
And
they pay him, I don't think it's a major issue.
yeah. And whether it's 5.5, whether it's 6, even if it goes up to 6.5, like regardless of the term, like
Mm-hmm.
worst comes to worst, if as long as they have the retention slots open, they could easily move that. Even without retention, they could probably end up moving them later
Yeah.
on down the road if they need to. So unless they're giving them like 6.5 mil and a full no move or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I don't think that would maybe like a hey, no team like a 10 team no trade list or something. There's 10 teams you don't want to go to. We're fine to work around that.
sure.
Um.
But yeah, I don't hate the
Yeah.
return for Vancouver, but I really like this for San Jose. I think first of all, it shows the locker room like we know this. We believe this isn't a flash in the pan. We believe this team is ready to start progressing forward. Like they want to be in that Anaheim Ducks conversation, not the Chicago Blackhawks conversation. We're one of these
Mm-hmm.
teams coming out of the rebuild, not in the trenches of it.
Yeah.
And this just gives them that assurance. Good goal scorer, hits everything, which is just what team can't use a guy who he put up like 400 hits or something last year. Like it was insane. Like didn't he break the single season hit record by like 105 or
He
something
was.
outlandish?
Yeah, I
Like
can't quite remember, but yeah, he
he had at
shattered it.
least 100 more than the second guy in the league, I'm pretty sure. And for a
Yeah,
guy
you're
who
right
hits
though.
as much as he
What team
does,
couldn't use him?
like you were saying, at least so far in the past few years, he's been pretty healthy. Um, in the 22-23 season, he played 32 games with Nashville, but in that same year, he also played 42 games in the AHL, so about a full season there. Next season, 68 games. Next season, 78. So only missed a handful last season. And then he's obviously injured right now, but up until now, he's played 44 games for the Canucks. So I assume this is the first. This current stint on LTIR or IR is the first games he's missed this year. So he's been relatively healthy throughout, at the very least, the past 3 or 4 years. And yeah, there's definitely some value there that they're giving up in those seconds, but the Sharks got a lot of those guys they needed to draft. They still have their first. They've got, I'm sure they have a couple other draft picks as well. Like,
yeah, they still have their
they can
first
easily
this year
handle
and
losing
Edmonton.
those.
Yeah, and it's like, well, the first thing, because again, I fully expect them to sign Sherwood to an extension of some sort. If that doesn't work, and again, I don't think this is the route they'll go, you can always flip him before the deadline, and and get a haul back, right? What was the last point you made? Sorry. Oh, the picks, right? Yeah, I mean the Sharks, they don't need the second rounders. Like, the biggest thing for people that don't like this deal for San Jose is just they don't think that Sherwood necessarily fits the mold of the team, which I think is just wrong. I think that it's just flat out wrong. No one seems to care about the seconds because you still have 2 firsts this year. You didn't trade one of your future firsts. You didn't move any of your high-end prospects, and you still have a bunch of good prospects in your pipeline. So you don't really need the seconds. And I think they have Colorado second this year too. So they're fine on that. For Vancouver, I mean, I get it. Like, I get why people are like, why not?
I can't believe nobody was willing 2 seconds. I can't believe this is like the good offer. We have to take it now. Like,
it is kind of surprising.
Dude, Tanner Jeannot just got like
1.5.
Didn't Tanner Jeannot just get like $4.5 million in free agency? Like, don't GMs love this type of player? Like, what? Yeah. I don't know why. I can't believe there aren't teams lining up like I thought it would be a bidding war above a first. I thought multiple teams would say, "Here's a first," and then teams would be like, "What about a first and a third? How about a first, third, and a B level prospect?" Like, that's what I thought he'd be going for.
Like, why wasn't a team like Edmonton all over this when he's only making 1.5? Why was Edmonton, like a team like Edmonton, not all over this? But I will say for Vancouver, because again,
team in the playoffs should have been calling about him at least.
Like, the biggest thing with Vancouver is a lot of people are saying, yeah, you could have waited and maybe waited for the value to go up and whatnot. Absolutely. But again, if you're Vancouver, you move him now in, again, don't know necessarily how long he's going to be out injured. It sounds like till about the end of January. So does Sherwood play for San Jose before the Olympics, or is his first game after the Olympics? We're not sure. For Vancouver, you're already 7 points in the bottom of the league. This deal helps you stay down there. Like, you've already got a 7-point gap at being the bottom team of the league, and that guarantees you, at the very worst, 3rd overall.
Yeah.
Most likely, very good chance you could get 1st overall. That is a great way to start off the rebuild. Immediately, like, we're going into a rebuild. We have a 1st overall.
They could have a really short rebuild. They have the potential to have a real short rebuild because they already have a really good prospect pipeline. They don't have that Gavin McKenna, Ivar Stenberg, that franchise piece yet, but they have a lot of the peripheral guys. Like,
they've got some good pieces, but yeah, you need to get those hind pieces. And something similar to the way I really kind of talked about the way San Jose had handled things throughout the rebuild is how well they treat their players. We talked recently about how poorly the Rangers have treated their players and kind of how that's, I think, the biggest thing of what got them into the mess they're in now. Sherwood and his wife apparently are expecting a baby around beginning of April. And so when he talked to Vancouver, he wanted to maybe get a deal done if he was going to get moved, because he was open to an extension there, but Vancouver felt it was time to move on, and that's fine. He wanted to get moved sooner rather than later so they could get to wherever they're going, get set up in their new place, doctors and whatnot, and get fully comfortable before the baby comes in April. And, I think that's kind of why Vancouver made the move as early as they did. And I think that goes a long way with players and seeing that, things have been rough in Vancouver, but they do treat their players right. And then even goes back to Quinn Hughes talking
I was
about
going to say
how
Quinn Hughes as well.
Quinn Hughes had no trade protection, but he said they treated it like I had a full no movement clause.
They
Like
only
Quinn Hughes was
shopped
kind of
him
in
with
the
teams that
driver's
he
seat.
wanted to go to. Yeah,
Yeah.
like that's
So I think that goes a long way for Vancouver. Again, 2 seconds I think is totally fine. You know, whether you use San Jose second, say that's around 50th overall or something. And then Minnesota's first rounder. You could move up a couple spots in the first round. Like you don't have to use these picks. You could use them to move up and try and get those higher end players. You could sit on them and because again, like you mentioned, they've already got some good prospects in the pipeline. They just need those elite level
yeah.
Talent. So
Yeah,
there's different ways they
the
could go.
Abbotsford Canucks won
Absolutely.
won the AHL last year. They won the Calder Cup. Like
Actually they did, yeah.
they have a lot of
Mhm.
good young talent, and that's not even talking about the guys already in the NHL. You know the Zeev
Yeah.
Guillaumes and the like. So they've
Yeah.
definitely
And
got
potentially moving Elias Pettersson, that's starting to pick up some steam and um it doesn't sound like Vancouver wants to retain, but people have said that if they're willing to retain some money on Elias Pettersson's deal, they said the return is bigger than anything we've ever seen. I was kind of shocked by that, but yeah, if you're a team like Carolina who's got nothing but assets and Vancouver's willing to retain a bit,
yeah.
maybe you get a all back. So I think this is the start of the. I mean, actually, it started with Quinn Hughes, but this is really showing the Vancouver Canucks are in tank mode. You're already at the bottom of the standings. We want to stay there.
Yeah.
Kick off the rebuild with a Gavin McKenna, or we don't get Gavin McKenna, we get Ivar Stenberg. They've had great success building around Swedes before.
I was gonna say I can't picture him anywhere else, man. I just that big elite Swedish player. That's just
Yeah.
Vancouver, isn't it?
It's just Vancouver. So for San Jose, I mean, for me as a Sharks fan, I'm gonna go with an A right now. I mean, I would like to do an A plus, but I think for me it really comes down to what does the extension look like?
I was
Because
say
again, Kiefer Sherwood's the
A
exact
plus
player
depending
they
on the
need.
extension.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Sherwood's exactly the type of player they need that they were missing in their lineup. He fits that perfectly. It just comes down to what's the extension. And for Vancouver, I'm also giving them an A just because it works for them in the direction they're going. It is, I mean, it is still 2 second-round picks. And again, you probably could have got more if you waited, but you did right by the player and what he wanted. And again, I think that goes a long way when you're a rebuilding team and it's tough to entice players to want to go play for you when
it's so
you're
annoying.
so bad.
It's so annoying watching the GM do right by all these players to try and make it a desirable place, and then the owners just like won't follow suit and help with that. For the love of God, Vancouver, you have such a passionate fan base. You make enough money. Build a fucking practice arena. Treat them like NHL players. Good God.
Yeah.
One thing you said in there is that you said some people were saying that Kiefer Sherwood doesn't feel like a player that fits in San Jose. And
not necessarily kind of fits the timeline because of his age. And I'm like,
oh, okay.
He's fucking 30. That's the thing I don't like is people act like, the age of 30 now was like 40 was 10 years ago. And it's like, no.
Well,
like
all you have to do is
so
look
dumb.
at how people talk about the Lightning over the past 2 years. Everyone's like, their window's closed. Vasilevsky is going to retire soon. Kucherov. I'm like, people were talking about Vasi like he was like, yeah, but he's been doing it for so long. And I remember looking one time and I was like, he turns 30 like next month. I was like, he was 29 and people were talking about him as if he's the fucking crypt keeper. Like,
yeah.
Like, what are we doing here? Fucking Crosby's still putting up obviously not every player's Crosby, but Crosby putting this shit up and he's like turning 39 soon. Like these elite players can be easily
and again,
good
like,
until at least 35.
Obviously you're not comparing, Kiefer Sherwood to Sidney Crosby, but I get what you mean in terms of talking about the age. Last thing I'll say, and then we can move on, because this was kind of another thing that had a lot of people not happy about the deal. First of all, this trade doesn't prevent San Jose from going out and acquiring a defenseman, probably a right-handed defenseman, because they have a shitload of defensemen that they're going to move out. You're probably going to get draft picks back, so the draft picks are a wash. This trade doesn't prevent them from going out and getting a right-handed defenseman at all.
They could still
They
do
can
that.
still easily do that. Second of all, people need to realize the market for right-handed defensemen is kind of ass this season. It is not very good. There was Rasmus Andersson, and there was no way San Jose was going for him without an extension. Like that again, it makes no sense for them. Dougie Hamilton doesn't want to go to San Jose. Maybe he does now, but from what it sounds like right now, he's still not willing to go there. So there's not much else out there.
Yeah.
Like that's just the reality of it is, yeah, it'd be nice if they could go out and, I actually had someone tell me that they could have taken this Kiefer Sherwood package, add on a prospect, and could have got Adam Fox. And I'm okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah, if they could have, absolutely they would have done it, but that's not realistic. So yeah, I
if
like
Adam
it
Fox
for
is as
both
bad as
teams
people think, then why would a team trade for him?
Yeah.
You can't have it both ways. You can't be getting a guy on pennies on the dollar because he sucks, but also now you have an elite player.
He also did put in brackets top 5 defenseman in the league, and then said Adam Fox. So it's like, you think Adam Fox's value is shit. Oh, but he's a top 5 defenseman in the league. Like, again, pick a side.
Yeah.
You can't have it both ways. So, yeah, I think both these two trades, again, all involving Pacific teams, a lot of dealing amongst the Pacific. I think are all great.
It gets even more bottom and top heavy.
Yeah, they're really good deals for all teams involved. And again, I just keep thinking, why wasn't a team like Edmonton in on a Kiefer Sherwood? That's like the exact kind of type of player they need. You can have one line with Zach Hyman on it, one line with Kiefer Sherwood.
Would be nice.
Would have been nice. Would have been nice.
The vibes are already great in San Jose, and that's only going to get better with a goal-scoring guy who hits like a wrecking ball everywhere, all the time, every game. And they're absolutely going to love him. And I think we already saw some of the incredible vibes the other night for San Jose, because I believe I don't know this for sure, but I saw it floating around somewhere. But I believe for the first time in 6 years is what I saw. That sounds insane. There's no way that's true. We got a goalie fight in the NHL.
Goalie fight, yeah. The last one was Cam Talbot versus Mike Smith in the Battle of Alberta.
Yeah.
This is the last one we got.
Do you want to set the scene a little bit? I assume you were watching the game.
No, so because I ended up going to the Flames game. So
okay.
I got the first and the second period, and I missed the third. But I did watch the highlights, and we've almost seen a few goalie fights the last years, but the refs are pretty quick to get in there and be like, "Nope, this ain't happening. We're not."
That is something I definitely want to touch on here.
And in this one, I mean, they didn't have a choice. Bobrovsky comes flying down the ice, full speed, and grabs Nedeljkovic, and what are the refs going to do at that point? They were already throwing punches, taking each other's helmets off, and at that point, it's like, yeah, I mean, shit, if you're the ref, what do you do? They're already going. You might as well just let them go.
What do they do? You get in there and stop them, bro. Marc-Andre Fleury was torn off of guys like 3 times in a row trying to fight. Like, everyone's so focused on the fight, and obviously because it's awesome. Goalie fights are fucking fun, but I just could not get over the fact that jumped is too strong of a word, but I don't know what the lower version of it is. But who's the goalie? Nedeljkovic. He goes into the corner. People kept saying like Bob had to be down there. He has to go down there. It's an unwritten rule. No, he fucking doesn't. We see goalies go into the corner and shove all the time, and the other goalie doesn't do anything. Like,
they'll kind of come out to maybe like center ice or like the blue line.
Sometimes they'll kind of aura farm at the blue line and stuff. But he comes flying in. First of all, every other time in recent memory I can remember, both goalies take their helmets off beforehand, because punching through a helmet sucks enough. You can't punch through a goalie helmet. It withstands 100-mile-an-hour shots from vulcanized rubber. You can't punch through this. So they both got their helmets on, but Bobrovsky comes flying in. He has all the speed in the world. Nedeljkovic clearly isn't super ready. He has enough time to tell it's happening, but he's kind of like, oh shit, and sees him coming full speed by the time he's at the hash mark. So he doesn't have a ton of time to prepare. Bob flies in, starts throwing these punches. And the biggest thing for me is that they didn't, first time in 6 years, they didn't break this up. Bob comes flying in like a bat out of hell. Nedeljkovic, for the first 10 seconds of this fight, he's backing up, skating like he doesn't want to fight. He does not look like he's super into it, but he stands his ground and he ends up, I would say, winning the fight. They end up getting each other's helmets off. They throw some punches. Nedeljkovic takes Bob down. I just can't believe that the way Nedeljkovic was skating backwards, the refs didn't fly in there and stop this. Because I think back to Binnington and Fleury trying to fight 1 or 2 years ago. They looked like caged animals trying to fight each other, and the refs wouldn't allow them. The fact that there was 1% of doubt on either of the goalies, I can't believe they didn't break it up. Just thinking back to how bad some of these other goalies have tried to fight, I was surprised this is the one that got through.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I don't know. I'm
so glad they didn't break it up. We got a goalie fight again.
Yeah, we got a goalie fight, and that was awesome. And Nedeljkovic is now only one of 5 goalies in NHL history to have a fight in their career as a goalie, an assist, and a goal. So again, no goalie's ever got an actual Gordie Howe hat trick in the same game, but a Gordie Howe hat trick across their career as a goalie. There's only 5 that have done it, and Nedeljkovic is now one of them. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, I thought it was sick. This was a really...
This is the first fight of his career either. I think the other one was in the AHL.
No, I think Nedeljkovic was his first fight. He's got a couple goals though. He's got one in the NHL.
I thought he might have had a fight. I thought he said he had a fight against Cam Talbot in an interview, but it might have also not counted as fighting. Who knows?
Yeah, but overall, like it was a great game. Obviously, this was the game in Florida. Matthew Tkachuk returning to the lineup for the first time this season since whatever injury he's on now. It's hard to keep track of at this point. Yeah. And yeah, the Sharks kind of were giving it back to him. They weren't letting Florida do their usual thing. I also feel like Florida's usually and again, not every Western team, but they're a little bit more tame against teams in the West as opposed to teams in the East. I kind of feel like.
You are 100% on. This might be the first time I've heard somebody else say it. You don't understand how cathartic that was for me to hear just now.
No, I'm glad that's what I'm here to do for you.
Who was the last person that got injured versus Florida in the West? I actually have no idea. But I'll give you a fucking laundry list of guys they've hurt in the East. Every time they play somebody in the East, they board Zub from behind. They fucking cheap shot Seth Jarvis. They take out
Seth Jarvis. That was the one I was thinking of.
Like every single.
But he's obviously not the West, but
like not every single team in the Atlantic gets guys taken out. Who was it that they boarded from behind viciously the other day against the Leafs? They fucking dumped some dude. Was it McCabe? Maybe they dumped somebody from behind, very similar to the Zub hit. Like almost all of them are in the Atlantic. These are targeted hits. These aren't just hockey players. Oh, but there is one in the Metro, but that's Seth Jarvis. That's the top team in the Metro. They're not worried about Columbus. They're not worried about the Rangers. They're not worried about the Islanders. But the top in the Metro and the Atlantic teams, they are consistently vicious against. It's... Yeah, if you really start reading between the lines, you can see it because it is definitely different against Western Conference teams.
Yeah. I thought the
Sharks beat them on the ice and on the scoreboard, I feel like.
They swept Florida this season. They won both their meetings against the Florida Panthers. Not only was this Matthew Tkachuk's return, and again, this player isn't on the same level as Tkachuk, but Vincent Desharnais returned for San Jose on the blue line, and made his presence felt. Obviously,
hell of a game.
Known for being a big defenseman, and scores his first goal in 2 years or something like that. It was, and just sends Matthew Tkachuk flying in the air to within the first 10 minutes of the game. He was getting in there mixing it up, and it those are the type of players that San Jose was after too. I don't think he was credited with a fight. He was in a lot of scrums, but
I saw that he had
credited with a fight.
I thought he had 6 penalty minutes, but it might have been 6.
He had I think 6 and 6. 6 hits, 6 penalty minutes. There was a roughing. I think he might have got a hooking or something. He had a couple penalties, but you know what? He was out there getting under Florida's skin. He was already getting Matthew Tkachuk off his game in the first period, or doing exactly what Tkachuk wants. But again, it was making Tkachuk not as impactful on the ice. So
all of that.
It was an awesome game, and my biggest takeaway from this game is I think this was a big showing by the Sharks to kind of say thank you to GM Mike Greer for being like, oh, you just went out and traded for a player. We're actually buying. You know, you believe in us. You think we can go on a playoff run. We're going to show you you made the right call. And they go out and had this phenomenal game against Florida. So
I don't know if I've seen a bench as happy as when Nedeljkovic won the fight as the Sharks bench since a team won this cup. Like, I can only compare the amount of hype to something like that. Or like Ovi scoring. Like, they were losing their minds on the bench.
Crazy. Yeah.
And it's crazy that the Sharks come out of that on the penalty kill, because it all started with a play from Rodriguez. Another push from behind. Man,
I don't think it was very vicious, though.
They're comfortable doing it.
Yeah, because I think it was Desharnais who. So, you know, the bigger they are, the harder they fall, right? So it wasn't even a hard push, but it's because he's just such a fucking unit. It's like, oh, geez, but it's like, I even as a Sharks fan, I don't think it was that bad. I think it's just big man makes big noise when he falls, type of thing, right?
Yeah. And kind of on top of all this other stuff, this is the first game the Sharks have won all season without a single point from Macklin Celebrini. They didn't get carried this game. They just beat the defending Stanley Cup champions with one of their biggest superstars coming back into the lineup against the starter, because in the last few seasons they played a lot of backups. They did this against Bobrovsky. They beat him 4-1.
So it was a statement win.
Like that, all around a phenomenal game from
statement win. Absolutely.
And they're only going to have
from
other guys
the Sharks. We'll see what they do tonight against Tampa. Should we make a bet? Because we know, we're, as the time we're recording this, we're recording it on the Tuesday. The Sharks and Lightning play tonight. Should we make a bet of some sort for the game?
Yeah, we might as well. Why not?
What do you want to do?
Well, do we want to just do something like IRL, like a beer bet, or do we want to do something for like the YouTube channel?
I think I'm always down for a beer bet, but also, how about the winning? Whoever's team wins gets to write up a statement that the loser has to read, whether that's over on the YouTube or even just on the next episode that'll come out Friday or something. The winner, gets to make the loser read off whatever they want.
I like that. Make a bit of a statement. We'll say it, and people listening to the episode next week will have context, but maybe we'll also cut that up, though. Make a short, make a TikTok, stuff like that, and maybe we won't give context on those.
Yeah. And again, I feel like I'm at a disadvantage because Tampa's one of the hottest teams in the league, and San Jose's coming off a back-to-back. But you know what? I believe so. I say let's do it.
All right, let's do it. I feel like I'm more likely to win given the team's status right now, but I feel like I also have a little bit more to lose because I feel like what you're going to put almost certainly is going to include the Panthers. And what could I have you say that would be as annoying for you to say?
Oh, trust me, there's actually quite a few that would suck.
I'll have to think about it. I
could think of quite a few. We got a couple more news we can rip through here. We got the weekly mock trade and wrapping up the episode. Where do you want to go to next?
I guess let's do just a couple of these other news bits we have here. There's not much to say on a lot of them, but Johnathan Toews had his return to Chicago the other day. He got it was like a 4.5, almost 5 minute standing ovation from the crowd.
It was sick.
That time includes the video tribute, but the video tribute was also 50 seconds to a minute. There was like 4 solid minutes of the crowd he kept skating out and he claps and he kind of does this and he waves to the crowd and then he goes to the bench and they're still going. They don't care.
He kept going.
He circles back out. He came back out like 3 or 4 times. Like They
Yeah,
really
it
showed their
was.
appreciation for him, and it
Yeah,
was a really nice moment.
yeah. Again, not much to say on it other than just yeah, it was awesome. It's not very often that a guy like Johnathan Toews and everything that he meant to the city of Chicago, everything he brought to the city. A lot of those guys usually spend their whole careers there, right? He was kind of felt like he was in that tier of a Crosby and Ovechkin, kind of a one team guy.
Yeah, at the
That
very least
you
for
never
their
think is
franchise, like
yeah, you never think
captain 3 cups, like it
is gonna
does it
leave,
get
and
much
then
more than that?
yeah, and then not only for him to leave, he didn't get traded. His contract kind of just ran out, and the injuries and whatnot he was dealing with and whatnot. But then it's like 3 years later he comes back. So it's like it's something we might never see again, where a player like Johnathan Toews is just gone, and it's like 3 years later he's making his return to Chicago finally. Um, and I
Yeah.
think it definitely warranted a near 5 minute standing O from the crowd. Is again just everything he meant to that city and what he brought them and everything, both on the ice, off the ice. I mean, just it was a good moment for him, and I think it was well deserved.
Yeah. And you know what? It looked like it brought good vibes to both benches. Like the
Yeah.
Jets were clearly like, this is awesome, like good for him. But like that was probably a pretty surreal moment for Connor Bedard, like being like, damn, like this is the kind of like adoration you could get from this crowd if
Hmm.
if you play your cards right. Like if you're that guy for them.
Well, and even for Chicago, it's pretty cool because again, don't quote me on this because I could be wrong. But again, you know how it's been so long since he left Chicago. It's not like a guy gets traded and then they play the team like the next season and all his buddies are still there. Like, did Taves play with any of the guys that are on Chicago right now? Were any of them
Probably
were
not.
any of them there when he was on the team? I don't, again, don't quote me on it because I could be wrong, but I don't think so.
Off
I
the
think it's
top of my
all
head,
brand new guys, so it's a cool moment for them to see Captain Taves come back in it. But it's not like they actually know him. They played alongside him. It's like we're a new team basically over here in Chicago now, and this living legend has finally returned to the
yeah.
city. Like that's
I
got to
think
be pretty cool for them.
the only guy that I can think might have is Connor Murphy. And even then,
Oh, you know
I have
what,
no
Murphy,
idea.
absolutely, Connor Murphy. Yeah,
He's the only guy I can think of that has any real term with the team that's left.
yeah, absolutely, Connor Murphy, because he's been there for quite a while. Like the 22-23, Seth Jones gone. Oh, Jason Dickinson.
Okay.
Jason Dickinson still there. Yeah, Connor Murphy. Wow, his last year, this team was fucking ass. Jeez.
I mean, you have to be pretty bad to wave the
Holy
flag to the point where you're
fuck.
moving out. You're letting Taves expire and you're moving out Patty
Their leading
Kane.
scorer that season was fucking Max Domi.
Yeah. That's why Domi got the big bucks, the medium bucks.
Yeah,
But
we can move on from Chicago. We can go on to another Western Conference team, the Edmonton Oilers. You're a big Oilers fan. What do you got for us here?
I wouldn't say I'm a big Oilers fan. I think it would be a shame if McDavid retired without a cup.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
as far as I'll go. Uh, but they put up back-to-back shutouts over the weekend, and that's without Leon Draisaitl, as he is currently on leave in Germany, attending to a family matter. Um, I mean, Draisaitl isn't exactly doing a ton for them defensive wise, I don't think, but he said he was looking for a Selkie, so he must be decent defensively.
No, not this
But
season. It hasn't been great.
back-to-back shutouts without your second best player, it's pretty good sign that
I
they
mean, it is
can do
worth
it.
noting it was against Vancouver and St. Louis, but still, to be able to do it for something that's kind of been an issue for Edmonton. Yeah, obviously without Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins played in his 1,000th game as a member of the Edmonton Oilers, got a goal in the game. He is the first, I believe I'm gonna say
Yeah,
this right, the first player in Oilers history to reach 1,000 games where they just started their career with Edmonton and they got to the 1,000 mark.
yeah, yeah. They've had a couple of guys reach 1,000 games with them, but I don't.
They went to it like we're traded to another team, then ended up coming back type of thing.
Yeah.
Like no one just started there, got to 1,000 without leaving. And
How insane is that? Like, did they trade for Messier or some? Like they had Gretzky, Paul Coffey, Yari Curry, Mark Messier. Did they draft
lost
all
all.
those guys and none of them got to 1,000?
None of them got to 1,000.
Like 1,000's
in
a
a row.
lot, but it's also not that many. Like it's a lot, but it's for guys with that amount of talent. Like
It's about
those are
13, 14 seasons you got to play.
like the fact that they weren't able to
Nowadays,
keep
at
any of them
least.
for that long is
It is wild, right? Like it
crazy.
is.
I probably just named like 3 or 4 of the top 5 all-time playoff points producers. And they didn't keep any of them for 1,000. So, yeah, congrats to Nuge. He's definitely deserved it. I love listening to the way Oilers fans talk about Nuge because it's just one of those things where they don't keep guys historically super long like him, and he's just been a workhorse for them through the good times and the incredibly bad. So, yeah, congrats to Nuge.
You kind of look, Taylor Hall, they shipped off probably sooner than they should have. Jordan Eberle, that was a weird one. Yakupov didn't work out like all these guys, and it's like he was the one that kind of, and obviously, McDavid and Josh, they weren't moving them, but Nugent Hopkins was kind of in that area of it could have easily just been him that was moved instead of Hall. It could have been him moved instead of Eberle, and then he took a very team friendly deal on his last deal here. He's he'll be an Oiler for life and go down as one of the all-time greats for the Oilers, and I think rightfully so.
At very least, most loyal Oiler.
And this team's just buzzing. Everything's going the right way for them right now. They're just playing good, consistent hockey, and that's something that they struggled with to start the season is consistency. And they've gotten to that point now, and a lot of trade rumors always involving the Oilers. We'll see if anything happens before the Olympic break or if they wait till afterwards. But yeah, things are looking good for the Oilers right now.
So there's 82 games in a season, 84, I believe, starting next year. I think they're getting 2 more. So that's 164 ish over the next 2 years. How many games are left this season? Say for most teams, about 33 ish, something like that. Yeah. So generously, we've got 200 games left in this and the next 2 seasons. Connor McDavid's only at 762 games played. It is, frankly, very likely. It is incredibly possible that McDavid, because we've said it ad nauseum, if they don't win this year or the next 2, he's leaving. He drew the line in the sand. That's what the window is. If we don't win, I'm out. I'm winning somewhere else. If they don't win a cup and he's not extending, he probably doesn't reach 1,000 games with the Oilers either.
And again, it's so weird that they talk about like it's only regular season games. Like for some reason, playoff games don't fucking matter. But this kind of stuff is so weird. But
yeah,
it's like overall he would have played 1,000, but in the record books it won't because they only go off regular season, right?
It is kind of annoying that they always separate the stats, and I get why they do, but because they are different. But also, like,
it's still kind of weird though.
Yeah, like, and
you're
if you're going to separate
right,
them, at least talk about them. At least talk about playoff stats, like a little other than just when we're in the playoffs. Because like some guys like have crazy playoff numbers and they just don't really get brought up.
Yeah,
but
yeah, you're absolutely right though. Yeah, he will.
He's not getting at 1,000 on the current contracts.
It's something to keep an eye on. That'll be interesting. Last bit of news here before we dive into the weekly mock trade. Not a whole lot to say in it, but I think it is worth mentioning as it has been a bit of an issue for the team this year. The goaltending situation has not been the best in Ottawa. I know there was a video that was put out today on TSN, I believe. Linus Ullmark talking about his struggles and why he's been on a leave of absence. It is a good video. People should go check it out. I haven't gotten through the full thing yet, but I've seen lots of parts from it. And it really makes sense why his play has taken a hit this year. But it's not just him; it's every goalie for Ottawa this year. The team itself has been very good, but the goaltending is not. And Jake Sanderson reached his boiling point when it came to that, with a very blunt quote directed at his goalie, Levi Merilainen.
Yeah.
Where's here? Yeah, so basically his quote was, I think at the end of the day, you've got to make more than 10 saves to win a game. And that happened, I believe that was the Ottawa-Montreal game on Hockey Day in Canada, where Montreal ended up winning. A good comeback win, too, for them. I think 6-5, and
Yeah.
Ottawa held them to, 16 shots, and
I think the goalie had 6 goals against and 9 saves, and that's really brutal. It's hard to win. So you can understand where Sanderson's coming from. I don't think he was putting it all on Merilainen.
and that's kind of the way I took it, too.
I think the frustration comes from their goaltending the entire year, no matter who's in net.
It just hasn't been good.
I wish I had the graphic in front of me, but I know I saw it 1 or 2 days ago of every team's goals saved above expected on the season, and Ottawa's last in the league by a good amount. They have minus 32 goals saved above expected.
Yeah, the gap between them and I think it's Anaheim, who's 31. That gap is larger from 31 to 32 than it was from 31 to I think 22 or something. So it's they're quite a bit down there. The goaltending hasn't been good. And Jake Sanderson did apologize and said, I can't be saying shit like that, and he's pretty embarrassed by his actions, and I don't think anyone's blaming him though. It's understandable, and it's the
it was
way
a bit out of pocket, but there was a little truth behind it, even if he said the quiet part out loud. It was also awkward because he apologized earlier today, and then maybe an hour later, it was announced that Merilainen was sent back down to the minors. So, oof for him, but I'm sure he'll get another chance.
Absolutely.
I believe he got sent down because Linus Ullmark is getting ready to make his comeback fairly soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, also regarding that video that you were talking about of Ullmark talking about all of this, I don't know if I've ever seen a hockey player speak as well and as purposeful as he did there. He,
Ullmark?
Yeah, the way he was talking was just so well articulate. He's clearly had a lot of time to think about exactly how he would say it and what he'd say.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I cannot recommend enough going and watching that interview and hearing him talk about it. And he brings up a lot of good points of they he said it's so clear that he sees what people say on social media. He's people want NHL players, not even just goalies, just NHL players to be more fun, have more personality, and that's so true. We begging for it all the time. And he says, it hadn't even been 24 hours since he started going on leave before he had friends and family members reaching out and asking if he was okay because of all the rumors about his personal life that were going around. People just started spreading rumors like crazy. And I think he did a really good job of handling it.
Absolutely.
It definitely shows that he's already had good talks with management because of the statement that the Sens put out about a week ago about, respecting the players' privacy. And they were pretty heavy worded about how they were this is disgusting by the fans and the trolls online who are perpetrating all this, perpetuating this just rumors and bad will. So good on him. And hopefully the people who are spreading around online feel a bit more shitty about themselves and maybe think twice next time.
Absolutely. Last bit of news here. This is kind of some breaking news, but I don't think it's very shocking given what we've kind of known here.
Okay.
We'll mention here before we move on into our closing segments here. This is some Olympic news. Leo Carlsson and Jonas Brodin are both expected to miss the 2026 Olympics for Team Sweden due to injuries. Kind of figured that was going to happen given their injuries and their timeline. Those are our two very big losses for Team Sweden, especially Leo Carlsson up front, who we
That's their
talked
number one
about
center.
could very realistically be their number one center, and losing that is tough. Losing Jonas Brodin is tough. I'm curious to see who the replacements will be. You know, we are both
Yeah.
pretty surprised that a Willie Mecklin didn't make the team. A lot of people were shocked that Emil Heineman didn't make the team. So be curious to see
I would
either
hope
those
it's
two
Eklund.
make the team now.
He
And then
seems like a good enough player that it's weird he didn't make it.
I think it should be a slam dunk, Eklund. But again, we'll see. And on the blue line, you know, Jonas Brodin was probably going to be that, you know, kind of slotting in. I don't think he was going to be a regular in the lineup the whole
Probably
term
in
for
and
Team
out.
Sweden.
Yeah.
So probably either Hampus Lindholm or Matthias Ekholm. I imagine one of those two will be getting the call. I don't think there's really any other option other than those two at this point. So we'll keep an eye on that and see what Team Sweden does. And fingers crossed for Eklund. I think he definitely deserves it and was very upset when he got the news that he was not on the team. And he never did comment on whether or not he was on the reserve list. So he might not even be an option.
I haven't heard
We have
anybody
no idea
outside of American and Canadian players talk about the reserve list. So
Yeah.
I don't even know. I wonder if the other teams even reached out to those guys or if they're like, we're just going to call them if we need them. So we'll see what happens with that, especially with Carlson being a top end offensive guy. I feel like Eklund is a great fit to take over that kind of role. Obviously, he's a winger versus Carlson being a center, but you know, you can still move guys around, and I think they have enough center depth that they can make it work. Bring in Eklund, but yeah, that sucks for a good Sweden team that was already, you know, a strong competitor, but they're going up against Canada and the U.S. who look like juggernauts. So losing
Yeah.
at
Absolutely.
worst top six center on your team is brutal,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and obviously Brodin as well. But at least they have more defensive depth to bring in to cover that up.
Yeah. But I think with that, we can dive into our last segment here, the weekly mock trade. Unfortunately, there is no game by me to wrap up this episode. I had, because spoiler, it was everybody's favorite. Too real, too fake. I wrote it down. I didn't put on my phone this time, and I don't know where it is. So I will find it, and I will have it for Friday's episode. But
Okay.
you do have that to look forward to, at least.
Hell yeah.
There is that. There is a silver lining. But everybody's second favorite segment, the weekly mock trade. And is your week here? The floor is yours. What do you got for us?
I have a pretty big trade put together here.
Alrighty.
I don't know exactly if or how the cap would work out. But if we might be able to work it out here. And also, this team has a lot of guys on IR right now. So it's makes doing the calculations kind of weird. They've got 5 guys on IR right now. One's making 7 mil, one's making 5.25, one's making 6 mil. So like there's a lot of money moving around right now. But the trade is between Minnesota and the New York Rangers. And that is Minnesota is receiving center Vincent Trocheck, 50% retained, and Artemi Panarin at 50% retained. That's right. They're going for both of the big fish out of New York. And in exchange for that, they're going to have to give up a decent bit. But they do have some really good young players to look at. To New York, they will be sending a 2027 first-round pick, David Juracek, and Danila Yurov. So they're sending a former first-round pick who has not quite worked out for them, but is still young enough and still has that pedigree. I think a lot of people expect him to at some point. And right winger Danila Yurov, who I was looking up, and He was
He's
a
also another former first round pick
24th
too.
overall in the 2022 draft.
Yeah.
I wish they picked him 22nd overall. In the 2022 draft, he's 22 years old. He was born on December 22nd.
Damn.
He's probably 22 feet tall or something as well. But he's only 22 years old, just turned 22 in December. And this is his first season in the NHL. He's already got 19 points in 43 games. So he's pretty young, and he's already got around a half a point per game. So definitely looks like there's something to his game and to his skill there. But you got to give up talent to get talent, and as nice as he
also
probably
has
will
one
be
of
in the
the
future,
he also has one of
or-
like the best draft kind of stories all time. When he got drafted, it was something of like someone made a fake account on Instagram about him and was like using it to try and like hit on girls and whatnot. It obviously wasn't him, like it was just someone pretending to be him.
yeah,
And apparently that account got him in some hot water. And so a girl who reached out to him previously was like, "Hey, someone's using a fake account about you." Just some random Minnesota Wild fan
yeah.
like reached out to him, and then apparently he was in some hot water and needed to, you know, clear his name, and so he had to reach out to this Wild fan, and she helped him clear his name, and then sure enough, he ended up getting drafted to the Minnesota Wild. So it was a pretty cool story. But anyway, back to the mock trade here now. My little rant is over.
I hadn't heard of that before.
I think that is a because how many more years does Vincent Trocheck have? Right, if you're retaining,
I believe he has
Vincent
4.
Trocheck.
I believe he has 4 in total. So that would be this year and then 3 more. I can definitely check that here, but
I think this is one of those deals where I think it is a great starting point. But I do think if
that's
you are
kind
getting
of
Panarin
my thought.
and Trocheck 50% retained, the value's got to come up a bit more on the Wild side.
Okay.
Again, I'm not super, knowledgeable on their draft pick situation and prospects after some of the moves they've made recently.
They've still got some draft picks.
But I think it is a very
they're
good starting
fairly
point.
barren on the actual prospects at this point. And
obviously
Panarin would only be
a rental.
Potentially. Yeah, most likely a rental. I don't think this would come with an extension at the least. But they would only be retaining on him for a year. Trocheck obviously for 4 years there, so they're only retaining.
Oh yeah, because you have Panarin retained as well in this deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the value would need to definitely come up on Minnesota's side.
Okay. Because
I don't know exactly what again, but
the first rounder, David Jiricek, still has some decent value. He's only.
I guess
22.
that's the biggest thing is how do teams value Jiricek at this point? Because again, I was super high on him as draft year, but I'm also like at this point, you either figure it out or you don't, right? And maybe Minnesota's a tough spot for him because there's not a lot of room on that blue line anymore. I guess it's What do teams have his value at now?
And it's so hard to tell because and I mean this season, 20 games for the Minnesota Wild, 0 points. He's a -1, 14 penalty minutes. It's definitely not working out so far there. He's a 6th overall pick, so GMs love grabbing guys who have that high draft pedigree before they're 24, 25 years old. But yeah, I don't disagree that I think New York could definitely ask for more, given that both guys are also retained. They've got all their 3rd, all their 4th rounders. They do also have their 2028 first. I don't know if they'd be wanting to put in 2 guys and that.
Or maybe it's something, maybe it's even something just as easy as kind of what Vegas did, right? You send the 2 players, the 2027 first, and then be like 2028 second round pick. Maybe it doesn't even have to be if we win the cup. Maybe if we just reach the cup final, or maybe if we reach the Western Conference final, meaning we survived Dallas and Colorado, then that 2028 second becomes a first, something like that.
Or you know what? You could also do, if we extend Artemi Panarin it gets upgraded.
Yeah, even just something like that. Absolutely. Yeah, so I think that is a good starting point for a deal like that, because again, we know the Rangers are going to be selling off, and I have seen that Minnesota's pretty interested in Trocheck. I haven't heard as much about Panarin, but I also predicted Panarin to the Wild in preseason. So I would love that to come full circle for me. But
I originally tried to make this trade
point.
Just around the idea of Trocheck to the Wild, because they need center depth.
Center, absolutely.
And I kept looking at it, and I was just like, they would love a guy like Panarin. Obviously, they have that Russian connection. They've got Kaprizov. They got Tarasenko. I also thought about moving Tarasenko back in the trade. But he's actually been better than I thought this year.
He's
pretty solid for the Wild.
Yeah. No, I do like that, though. I think that's, again, but if I'm the Rangers, do I say yes? No. But I think it gets a conversation going at least.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Yeah, love to hear it. Yeah.
Round of applause. Well done.
Again, no idea on the cap logistics, because it's bringing in a lot of money and moving out guys on ELCs. So you might have to include some other guys. You might have, even if he's playing good, he's not as good as Panarin. You might have to include a Panarin or a Tarasenko to make the money work. They got a lot of guys on IR, so it's you'd have to move some stuff around. But
absolutely,
these teams are generally creative enough that they can.
100%. But we are at that time now. We are at the end of the episode again. Unfortunately, no game for this episode, but there will be one later this week, and it is good. It is fun. We always have fun here. We hope you have fun. Hope you enjoyed listening. If you want to talk hockey at all, you can do so at the end of our socials. The links are all down below, or over on the YouTube, either in the community poll or the comment sections. Both of there work just as well. But Braden, some big trades have already happened. Potentially some more on the horizon as teams are active to get stuff done before the Olympics. But before we get to that point, I must ask you final thoughts.
I'm gonna hit you with two final thoughts here. One of them being that this past Sunday we actually started uploading a new series on our YouTube channel. We started doing a new thing. It's kind of like a podcast, but some episodes might not be as podcasty. Basically, just a little bit more content for you guys of us, where we're not talking about hockey and we're talking about whatever we feel like. Maybe in the future we'll do some challenges, rankings, weird
anything and everything,
tier lists, all kinds of stuff. Just another outlet for us to reach out to you guys. Maybe engage a couple more people that aren't, maybe they like the personalities, but they aren't as into the hockey talk. There's a little bit stuff for you there. So go check that out on the YouTube. The working title right now is Good Handshake, Great Handshake. Which is a bit of a reference to some thing that we just started doing at some point, where we shake hands whenever we saw each other again. One of us would go, good handshake. The other one would go, oh, great handshake.
Yeah, so guys being dudes.
It really is just guys being dudes. And the other bit, I guess, is we'll see who wins tonight. Sharks versus Lightning. We'll see who has to give an out of context bit of a small speach
promo
on
type
the next
thing.
episode. Yeah, absolutely. So that'll be fun. We'll see who wins, and
looking
at least from this side of the podcast, go Lightning.
Can't agree with that last little statement there, but I can respect it. But that is it for this episode one final time. Hope you all enjoyed, and as always, we'll see all of you lovely people out on the ice later this week.